Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, Reverend Jim Webb, author of the book 30 P's to Prosperity, Creating Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, Prosperity from A to Z, and of course, The Soul of Prosperity. We're glad you're here because each week we look at prosperity from a different angle. We understand that prosperity is the natural state of the universe, and that prosperity is available to each and every one of us. And as Rumi, the Sufi poet, said, we simply have to remove the blockages to the prosperity that would flow naturally. And then we can manifest all types of prosperity, such as professional prosperity, where, in the words of Florence Scovel Shinn, we have the perfect job with perfect pay, where we offer a wonderful service in a wonderful way. Or relationship prosperity, where each of our relationships is a source of love and support as an outward reflection of our inner harmony and self-love and self-support. Or family prosperity, where our family experiences are supportive and loving. Or any other type of prosperity, such as, of course, spiritual prosperity, where we have the peace that passes all understanding. Logistical prosperity, where our life is no longer a struggle, but is easy. And of course, financial prosperity, where we have more than enough, enough to spare, enough to share, and enough to enjoy. So we explore that every week, and we're glad you're here with us this week. Let us know you're here. Put a comment, say hello in the comments section, and you can also ask questions. So we do understand that this prosperity thing is a flow. We understand that there is an infinite source. That infinite source you can call anything you want, but that infinite source is an infinite supply of good. And that infinite source wishes its good upon us. Our task is to be a conduit for that flow, to open to that flow. And when we open to that flow, it flows through us, and then it takes form outside of us as a reflection of our inner consciousness. So this flow can take the form of prosperity, because prosperity is simply an outpicturing of the love that we allow to flow through us. However, we also understand that if there is something blocking the flow, it inhibits our experience of prosperity, because the energy gets bundled up, boggled up, tied up, and it can't manifest itself in the ways that we desire. So we look at different ways to untangle this energy, for all creative energy must flow. And one of the ways that we can detangle this energy is by releasing entanglements outside of us that are outer reflections of our inner entanglements. And that's why I wanted to share with you decluttering tonight, decluttering your way to prosperity. And it's not just me. I've brought a decluttering expert on with us, Shelby Austin, a key organizer and declutterer, is with us. Hi, Shelby.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for having me.
We're so glad to have you. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for being on the show. I introduced you as a declutterer. So help me understand, Shelby. How did you get into the work and business of decluttering?
Well, I decided that I wanted to do something that I really enjoyed doing. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be able to help people, but yet make my own schedule, set my own prices, and be able to just enjoy the work that I do. I had been working in a corporate type environment and I just couldn't do it any longer.
Yes.
I wanted to get out of the day to day grind mentality and just do things that I enjoy. And I have never looked back. It's been an
Mm,
amazing journey.
wow. So did you find decluttering or did decluttering find you?
Well, I was just good at it.
Okay.
Um, I was just good at it, and I would help family and friends with clutter and organizing.
Mhm.
Um, and so it was a natural fit for me.
So, in other words, it was do what you love and all the good will follow. For when you offer service in love, love must be shown to you and must flow to you and through you. Would
That's
that
a
be accurate?
that is so beautiful, and yes.
Okay, okay. That helps me understand. I was an old corporate guy too, and so I truly understand how, you get your ticket punched and then you do what your soul is calling for. Just to paraphrase Martin Luther King, the arc of the universe is long, but it always bends us to where we are meant to be.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
it's been very interesting work too. I am fascinated by how people live and what's important
Mm,
to them and what
yeah.
they choose to collect. It's
Uh-huh.
it's and everybody is different. It's a very interesting work.
Yeah. And so one of the things that is always intriguing to me is what causes people to clutter and what causes people to call someone to help them.
Well, I think particularly these days
Hmm.
our lives people's lives can get cluttered very
Hmm.
easily with too many appointments, too many obligations, um, too many people that they're responsible for.
Hmm.
People now have kids that they're trying to raise, and then they're also trying to take care of elderly parents. And so
Hmm.
life gets very cluttered very quickly, and they can find themselves out of control just because their schedules are cluttered and their brains are cluttered. And so, therefore, what is happening inside manifests
Mm.
outside in the living environment.
Fascinating. As above, so below, as within, so without. And so when lives are cluttered, it shows up in their physical environment.
Absolutely.
And so when they call you, in essence, it's a call for help. It's a cry for help.
It is. And by the time they call me, things have probably gotten pretty serious and they have not been able to do it themselves because most people think that they should be able to do it themselves and they beat
Mhm.
themselves up because they haven't been able to get it done. So by the time they call me, they're pretty frustrated and
And
overwhelmed.
desperate. Yeah. So it sounds like there are two stages to needing help. The first is to know you need help, but then to think you can do it all yourself. And the second is to know you need help, but to realize you can't. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. Yes,
Kind of like
absolutely.
anything. And the people that come to me for counseling, the first thing they do is realize that there's a challenge. And the second realization is this challenge is one that I cannot address alone.
Yes,
So, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
And I have a gentle spirit and
yes,
non-judgmental spirit,
yes.
and I can come in and listen to what the issues are, and I also have a technique I call listening between the lines,
Hmm.
because just like if you read between the lines, I
Mm-hmm.
listen between the lines because when people tell you what's going on, they might not necessarily tell you everything that's going on, and also a lot of what's happening may be subconscious for them. Like they
Yeah.
don't have a conscious awareness of what's happening with them, that their house has gotten out of control.
Okay. So there may be some other things going on with them, and the clutter is an indicative of that
Yeah, the clutter is not the disease, the clutter is the symptom.
symptom. Okay. What are some of the key underlying things that you've observed that cause people such clutter in addition to having cluttered lives? What are some of the internal blockages, so to speak?
Depression, grief, um, big changes in life that they weren't
Mhm,
expecting, an
mhm,
inability to cope with maybe an illness,
mhm,
and then having to go through recovery, and things got out of control during recovery. And now
mhm.
the person has recovered, but yet they're overwhelmed with what has happened in the meantime. So life changing events can
Mhm.
precipitate the need to have somebody come in to help to declutter.
Okay. So a life that has changed and a challenge with coping with that change may create an energetic imbalance that shows up in clutter.
Absolutely.
And and that obviously is a blockage to their prosperity, not only in the short run because they're not happy living in clutter, but in the long term, and that focusing on the things that they desire become more difficult because the clutter takes up so much space in their mind in the same way that it takes up space in their world. Would that be accurate?
Yes, absolutely. Um, I just think that people need to just take a step back
Mm-hmm.
when they find they're overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and mindfulness is a big part of what I try to teach people that I interact with. Um, my service is more of a, a take a I take a look see to see what's happening in people's lives and try to navigate around what's happening. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not just coming in and cleaning up the mess, but
Right.
it's a coaching, and it's
Yes.
a helping them not to beat up on themselves. And so it takes some time to listen, and we do get to decluttering pretty quickly, because if they can see results pretty quickly, it uplifts them and it
Okay.
motivates them to keep going.
Okay. What are some of the things going on in people's minds that they are not mindful of? And how do you help them to be mindful of them that causes that clutter?
I think that you have to slow down moment by moment. I think
Mm,
that my first advice to people is to, especially if they've been living in their home for 10, 20, 30 years, and
yeah.
things have been allowed to accumulate, because if you don't move very often, um,
Mhm.
people tend to collect and collect and
Yeah.
collect and not disperse.
Yeah.
So I tell them to start outside and pretend as if they're walking into their house for the first time with fresh
Mhm.
eyes. And
Mhm.
I ask them to implore their senses. What do they see? What do they hear? What do they smell? What are they feeling
Mm.
as they walk from the front door and through the house? I tell them maybe they should take a video so that they can get a different perspective. Maybe take
Mm.
some still shots, because
Mhm.
once you've been in your house for so many years and the same picture has been in the same place for 30 years, the mirror is in the same spot for 30 years, and you don't make many changes to that. You might, clean up here and there, but basically your house has stayed the same.
Mhm.
It's important to bring fresh life into your home.
Mhm.
But if you don't see it,
Mhm.
because you don't when people come to your house, they may see things that you just are blind to because you're
Mhm.
used to it.
It's
Um,
kind of like that commercial where people become nose blind to the smells in their house. People become blind to their environment, and therefore they are blind to things that are blocking them.
Yep, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So I do encourage them to, and this is a mindful task, to
Mhm.
just try to clear your mind and pretend that you are walking through for the first time and this is not your house, but it's somebody else's house, and you're taking a 360-degree top to bottom, excuse me, look at what is happening in the home, and you'd be surprised at what you'd see, if you take that fresh look.
Yeah, what kind of revelations come up that have been interesting or surprising to you when people have looked at their homes with fresh eyes?
Um, they start talking about things such as maybe there's a painting. Oh, is one example. This woman had this beautiful painting in her entryway,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very stunning.
Mm,
Um, but she said that 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 painting had been in her family for years, generations, and that
mm-hmm.
when her parents transitioned,
Mm-hmm.
passed on, that the siblings fought over who was going to get the painting, and it
Mm-hmm.
caused much vitriol and
Mm,
much um, many disagreements about who was going to get this painting.
mm-hmm.
And so she ended up getting the painting. I'm not sure by what means, but she ended up having the painting, and it hung in
Mm-hmm.
this prominent spot in her home.
Mm,
But unfortunately, every time she walked past the painting and every time she looked at the painting, it didn't bring her joy
mm,
because of the turmoil and the arguments that had happened in order to get it there. So when she saw the painting, she always thought about the arguments that she had with her siblings, and
mm-hmm.
she didn't necessarily appreciate the beauty of the painting. And so
Yes.
for me, when people have things like that in their house, they should
Mm-hmm.
let them go.
Yes. I want us to take a moment because that is the essence of why decluttering is so necessary. And if you would indulge me for a moment, Shelby, I want to relate that back to A Course in Miracles because one of the things we do here is we make A Course in Miracles palatable by making it less esoteric and more practical. The first 30 lessons of A Course in Miracles teach us that we don't have God's vision, we just see with our own eyes and our own ego. And this is an example of someone who didn't see the beauty of the picture that was created by someone with the influence of God as God's beauty made manifest. All they saw when they looked at the picture was the angst, the strife, the conflict, and the pain that they associated with the picture. And that was the energy facing them when they walked into the door every day. So if you have all this stuff around
Mm.
with all these associations, how are you in an environment and in an energy conducive to calling forth and experiencing your prosperity?
You're not. You're feeling overwhelmed and burdened and guilty because all the stacks represent projects that are undone and unfinished. And
Yes.
every time, and it gets to be shameful. And all of those
Mm.
are low energy feelings.
Yes, and they cause us to withhold from ourselves the good that the universe wants to pour to us and through us because we don't feel deserving of it because of all these other feelings and energies that are blocking the flow of good and our feelings of deservingness around it.
Absolutely. There's one other example I want to talk about right now, and that has to
Mm-hmm.
do with one young lady who invited me in to help her organize. And when I stepped into the home, I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand why I was there because it was neat as a pin. It looked like a showroom, living
Mm-hmm.
room, and the kitchen was also very neat and organized and tidy. She
Mm-hmm.
was a single mom. She had a son, and the son's room was very well appointed, very well organized. He could sleep and entertain himself and study and do all sorts of the things people want to do in their rooms, especially
Mm-hmm.
the kids. But then I stepped into her room, and her
Mm.
room was horrible.
Mhm.
horrible.
Yeah.
Um, there were clothes everywhere. There was jewelry everywhere. There was trash everywhere. And
Mm.
immediately I knew that
Mhm.
she didn't feel she was worthy of
Mm.
having a beautiful, neat, and organized room, that for some reason she was punishing herself, that her
Mhm.
self-worth wasn't there for
Mhm.
that. Her home was ready for guests. They should be treated well. Her son's room was very well appointed. He should be
Mhm.
treated well. But
Mhm.
for her, no, she didn't deserve it in her mind.
Mm.
And those are
Wow.
the kinds of things that you can see plainly when
Mhm.
you go and do the tour and make the
Mhm.
assessment of what's happening.
And if you can see that obviously, then all the stuff between the lines can be equally interesting and indicative of where there is a need for healing. Would that be accurate?
Yes, yes.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. So, for our audience, what you now understand, thank you to Shelby, is that you understand that clutter is a symptom of a blockage, and healing that blockage can, of course, declutter, and that's very practical and important for us functioning in our lives. But healing that blockage is also very important for our prosperity. So you may have some questions. I know we start with looking at our place anew. I know there are other things that we can do to facilitate our own decluttering efforts, and I want to talk with you about those after the break. But I know that our audience may have some questions too, Shelby. So
Great,
we're going to
great.
go to break right now, and we're going to come back and take audience questions, and I'm going to ask you, what are the next steps after we after we see our homes with fresh eyes?
Sure.
Here, and we're going to be back here on the New Thought Media Network.
People of African Descent New Thought Group proudly presents Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village, Thursday, August 1st through Sunday, August 4th. Some of our greatest keynote speakers, some of our finest musicians and vocalists, some of our amazing and experienced panelists, and some of our fabulous masterclass presenters will be there for you at Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village this summer. Regular registration ends June 30th, so don't delay. Register today at padntg.com. Sponsorship opportunities are available at padntg.com. Volunteer opportunities are available at padntg.com. Go there now, padntg.com. See you there.
And we're back here on the New Thought Media Network with Declutter Your Way to Prosperity. Now, one of the things we talked about in the first segment was one of the first things we do to build a roadmap to decluttering our lives and allowing the flow of prosperity more was looking at our homes anew with new eyes, either by taking pictures or videos or seeing it the way a guest might see it. Now, that of course helps us to indicate issues that we didn't even know were there. What would be the next steps on our decluttering journey?
I think that anytime you try to take on a new project, that you ought to set an intention. Um, it can be as simple as, I'm going to organize my bedroom. You can write an affirmation. You're worthy of an organized and pleasant environment to rest, sleep, and rejuvenate. It's only after you set the intention that you can then get inspired. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people don't even know what they like.
Mm.
There are many, many, many YouTube videos to talk about the process of decluttering. There are many
Mhm.
books about decluttering. Marie Kondo was the one that was famous so many
Yes,
years ago. Um,
yes.
and and one of her favorite things is, does it bring you joy? Um,
Mm.
I did separate with her a little bit on that, because not everything that you need to have in the house brings you joy in particular. But
Mhm.
is it necessary? Do you need it? Um, does it bring you joy? Because that goes back to that painting that caused the woman so
Yes,
much grief. And that
yes.
goes for anything in your house. I mean, if every time you put on a certain dress, even though you like the dress, and it reminds you of a bad date or a bad time, or you know then let the dress go, because
Mm.
you don't want that kind of energy to travel with you. So things ought to bring you joy. um,
Mhm.
and and if, when you start taking a look and inventorying your items, you can figure out whether or not they bring you joy or not.
Mhm.
So get inspired, look at
Mhm.
photos, videos. um, you can even visit people's houses, friends houses that are organized, and ask them to show you their pantry to see what kinds of things they're doing.
Yeah.
um, I think you definitely need to act. So we can have things up in our brains, we can have things, our good intentions,
Mhm.
but unless you take the action,
Mhm.
it's not going to result in anything. And so I
Mhm.
recommend scheduling it and actually putting it on your calendar,
Mhm.
um, so that you have an actual date when you're going to start.
Saturday, September 12th is Declutter Day.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Okay.
be as committed to yourself as you are to others. This is
Mhm.
something you're doing for yourself. And
Mhm.
so if you are committed to yourself, then you will keep your commitments. If you
Mm.
committed to a friend that you were going to meet on September the 12th, then you would
Mhm.
do that. So when September the 10th, the 12th rolls around, then
Mhm.
actually go ahead and start that. Um, be your own best friend, and
Mm.
also ask for help if you need help. um, so ask your organized friend for help.
Mhm.
Don't
Yes.
ask the shopaholic for help.
Right. Yes. What help can they offer you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, there's one thing that I'm noticing, Shelby, and it came up several times, and it seems like a through line. And that through line or that through thread is deservingness, which is also a through line for any type of prosperity. I deserve to have a productive, beautiful, supportive space that is easy for me to be in, easy for me to find rest in and peace.
absolutely.
So they have to, so just like in developing and maintaining and cultivating a prosperity consciousness, you have to develop a consciousness of deservingness to even know that you deserve uh, to to be in a space that is supportive of you. Is that it?
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that I think that it's very valuable to appreciate where you are right now. Um,
Mm,
maybe you want another home, or maybe you don't particularly like this place that you're in. Maybe that's part of the problem, the
mm-hmm,
reason why you're disorganized and just and need decluttering. Um,
mm-hmm,
but if you can appreciate where you are right now,
mm-hmm,
and make the space as beautiful and efficient as possible right where it is. It
mm-hmm,
could be too small for your needs. It
mm-hmm,
could be just not satisfactory for your needs, but appreciate what you
mm-hmm.
have right now. Because I really think that that opens you up for receiving more and different and more appropriate.
Yes. Yes. May I offer a parallel for those of us for how this works with any aspect of prosperity? When you appreciate where you are, what you are, as you are in this moment, instead of judging yourself, beating yourself up, or or in some way denigrating yourself, that appreciation is a form of love, is a form of acknowledgement, is a form of yes. And when you are in the energy of yes, you open yourself to more.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So put it on your calendar, be committed, be your own best friend, ask for help, ask for the right kind of help. And also, family members may be problematic, because if you are a person who's an empty nester and you're trying to organize, and you have kids that still have their stuff at at your house,
Hmm.
and they're still storing it, they
Yeah.
may pressure you to continue to store their things. But
Hmm.
you really have to be um, very you have to be very committed to yourself that you want a certain
Yes.
lifestyle. Because
Yes.
if somebody is 40 years old and their bedroom looks the same way it did when they left for college,
And they
25,
don't want you to throw out their doll houses.
they don't want you to throw out the dollhouse. You got to set some boundaries here, because
Yeah.
that could be your new art studio.
Hmm.
It could be your new meditation room, your new
Yes.
zen den. um,
Yes.
you know so just be mindful of the help that you ask for.
So once again, deservingness.
Yeah.
Once
Yep.
again, deservingness. And for those of us on a prosperity journey, one of the things that we're finding is one of the key through lines is just that. Not feeling deserving, but being in the energy of deservingness, which is being in the energy of allowingness. So that's one of the things that is important in uh, organizing, decluttering, and it's a key to prosperity. Once again, deservingness.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're getting some questions, Shelby, and
Oh,
lots
great.
of comments. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our second break, and we're going to come back and answer the questions and then do one last thing. Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll be back here on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
People of African Descent New Thought Group proudly presents Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village, Thursday, August 1st through Sunday, August 4th. Some of our greatest keynote speakers, some of our finest musicians and vocalists, some of our amazing and experienced panelists, and some of our fabulous masterclass presenters will be there for you at Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village this summer. Regular registration ends June 30th, so don't delay. Register today at padntg.com. Sponsorship opportunities are available at padntg.com. Volunteer opportunities are available at padntg.com. Go there now, padntg.com. See you there.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity with Shelby Austin, organizer. And we've had quite a few questions from our audience. So I'd like to first look at Rosa Isabella's question at 826. Very fascinating. The essence of her question is she's got sentimental stuff, she's got business stuff, and toiletries as her biggest challenge. What could be some of the possible underlying reasons that this is such a challenge for her?
That is a good question. Complicated, I think. But we all have our little idiosyncratic ways. Like I have a thing for jars. So I want to save every jar because it's important. And one of the reasons why I relate to my clients so much is because I am just fascinated with stuff. And so it's hard for me to let it's hard for me to let go of things too.
Uh-huh.
So
we all teach what we needed to heal within ourselves. Amen.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't know what it might be about, honestly. But I do know that if you can set some limits on yourself, just say that I'm only going to have, in terms of toiletries, I'm only going to have 3 bottles of lotion. And so you use up all of the lotions that you have. And then when you get to 3, then you know you're at your limit. And you can work on just behavior changes to deal with some of the things that you're collecting.
So Shelby, does this mean I have to, Shelby, does this mean I have to throw out all 7 bottles of shampoo that I use?
It means that you should probably just use the 7. And then as it goes down and you get down to the magic number you've decided is enough, then just stick to that. But it takes discipline. Now, in terms of what
Yeah.
the underlying reason is, I don't know what that is, but I
Mhm.
can set behavior change suggestions, um,
Mhm.
so that people can just um, deal with limits. And it does take discipline. These are emotional issues, and
Mhm.
it's not easy work. And I think people misunderstand sometimes when they think they're going to declutter, but it can get emotional.
Yeah. So basically, you're suggesting we all, if one of the ways that we can start our decluttering journey is to set limits as to mitigate any additional clutter, and then kind of little by little take steps to declutter.
Absolutely. If
Okay.
you're over shopping,
Mhm.
just just say no to shopping.
Just say
Just say
no.
no to shopping. But
Okay.
um but I think that if you really want to do change, you can do some baby steps. And that has actually been the biggest challenge that I find with clients is their unwillingness to make changes to what they've been doing in their life. And so I've done a whole lot of reading about change and how to make change. Um,
Yeah.
and the bottom line is that if you do it in baby steps, if you take
Mhm.
tiny steps towards the change you're seeking, that it
Mhm.
becomes a lot easier. Because if you try to just say, okay, I'm just not gonna buy any more lotion,
Or
then
shampoo.
that's
My
just
thing is shampoo.
you're not buying any more shampoo. That's just, it's really just not gonna work. So if you've got 7 bottles, say, okay, I'm gonna go down to 5, and
Okay.
then work your way from there. But I think baby steps. That's the important thing, because it can get emotional and it can get
Mhm.
overwhelming. And if you get overwhelmed, you may be um, inclined to just quit and not make
And
the
not do
change.
anything. So Shelby, you mentioned something, and you actually kind of gave the answer inadvertently. Quite often there's a need beneath the need. Why do I need 7 bottles of shampoo? Right? And the need beneath the need may, I'm being facetious, of course, but, but the need beneath the need may have something to do with what you said about baby steps. It may have to do with something within us. And when that thought first came to my mind was about the mother who wanted to turn her daughter's bedroom into an art studio, but our daughter didn't want her to get rid of the dollhouse because her daughter's inner child felt threatened by that. And then one of the reasons we may hold clutter may have to do with unmet unconscious needs of our inner child or other of our inner saboteurs. And so, what you said at the beginning about being mindful of what's under the surface, I think can be valuable for all of our folks and helping them to take those baby steps. One of the baby steps might be identifying what the baby within you wants or needs. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah. I did have one lady tell me that she always had to wear hand-me-down clothes when she was growing up, and that
Mm.
she never ever got anything new. And
Uh-huh.
that when she got to be an adult
Oh,
and she had a job and she could buy
yeah.
her own clothes, that
Hmm.
she vowed that she was just going to buy everything that she ever wanted
Mm.
in terms of clothing, because she was deprived of that when she was growing up.
That is quite common. Mhm. I buy a new winter coat every year, whether I need one or not, because of the year that I didn't get a winter coat because we couldn't afford one for me. So yeah. So
Yeah,
so we have another question. Diamond at 826 had a question as well. Something always holds her back. Sciatic nerve, back pain. Now, if I may offer you some insight here on our beloved Diamond. Diamond lost her mother recently. Do you think there might be a connection between the two?
grief plays a big part in clutter. And when she gets some illness, when it's time to declutter and throw out, that's her resistance. And there's a book called "But the Body Keeps the Score," and basically it talks about there's a reason behind illnesses that pop up. And if Diamond is grieving, that would be her resistance manifesting physically, so that she doesn't have to deal with the pain of letting
Of
things go.
loss. Yes. It could possibly be that letting things go are like letting pieces of her loved one go.
Yes.
And the body resists, and the body will do what it needs to do to resist it, because she's not ready. So would you suggest patience, love, self-awareness, and self-care?
Those are very good points. Absolutely, I would. But I would also suggest
Yes.
that she think about the baby steps, that she doesn't
Yeah.
have to have a big decluttering project. She can
Mhm.
just take maybe one
Mhm.
box of things. And if she can discard two or three things out of the box, or give away two or three things out of the box, that's
Mhm.
great. That's
Okay.
great. So it's all right to take little tiny steps,
Okay.
and give away. And I find, my god sister lost her mom
Mhm.
recently, and
Mhm.
my godmother at 102.
Mhm.
And so one of the ways that she has been handling letting some of her things go is giving things that are meaningful to certain family members. And so um, that's a way to let things go where you know they're going to be cared for because another person wants to have them. Um,
Okay.
and when it gets to the point where the thing is not valuable and it really needs to be discarded, um, it's okay to hold on to it for a while. Maybe she's not
Mm.
ready, and
Yeah.
but she will be if she
Mhm.
continues to take the baby steps.
Take baby steps and be compassionate. Okay. Deb, thank you so much, Shelby. Deb had a question at 8:29.
Explain if there's a connection to ADHD. Um, I think there's a connection to clutter and ADHD, because people who, and there are books on this topic. I'm not a medical professional, by no stretch of the imagination, but I do see it up close and personal that
Mm.
there is ADHD. It has a connection to people keeping too many things.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that professional help is okay, that
Mhm.
professional help should be sought when
Mhm.
um, there's a hoarding situation, because I don't think that's something that you can work out yourself. And so, if in hoarding situations, there's me who's on the ground. I mean, I understand it, and I can help to sort out the items, but
Mhm.
the psychological piece has to be dealt with by a professional.
Okay. Thank you, Shelby. Now, uh, Ryan had a comment at 8:34 that we can address. It was quite a humorous comment. Ryan sensed that Johnny Coleman was in the house. And the answer is yes. I've always been a closet Johnny Coleman follower, even though my tradition was spiritualism. I worked, I was a closet Johnny Coleman fan, and and some of it seeped through. Yes. So we've had and one other question I think might require a little bit more of an explanation. Henry Harris had a question at 8:33. Does it does it apply to ministry? And and if there's more that you want to ask, or if you want to elaborate on that, Henry, if you can elaborate on that a little bit more, I think that would be useful.
Yeah, because I'm not clear about the question.
Could it be clutter as in scatter versus setting a clear intention and focusing on that intention laser like? Could that possibly be what he means? I don't know.
Uh,
So Henry, we're going to give you
yeah,
a moment to elaborate on that a little bit more.
yeah, I'm not quite sure. Um,
Yeah, we'll give
unless,
him a moment.
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. So in the meantime, what are you working on these days, Shelby?
Well, I'm working on trying to capture what I've learned from my clients in these many years of decluttering and figure out a course that I can offer so that
Mm,
when people decide that they are ready to declutter, that I would be able to work over the internet via coursework and online training, and act as a support group for people who are interested in decluttering, who don't necessarily need a professional, but they just need the motivation to get going.
mm. That sounds wonderful. That's a course that I would take, and I think most of the people watching this would take that course too. Sounds exciting.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm in the very early stages of implementing this idea, but I
Yeah.
am definitely um, enthusiastic and excited about it. So
Yes.
I'm taking baby steps
Mm.
towards my goal.
There you go. Ideas got to start somewhere. I
Yeah.
had an idea recently, and I just started thinking about this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that, and then I decided to do it, and that's my announcement for tonight. So I'm excited about that announcement.
So let me tell you, in the show opening, you
Uh-huh.
have prosperity is hiding in plain sight, and
Yes.
I was really taken by that because,
Uh-huh.
um, I uncover so many valuables when I go into people's houses and declutter. They
Yeah. Uh-huh.
they they don't know that they have. One
Uh-huh.
woman had like an 8-inch stack of gift cards that we
Mm.
uncovered. She
Mm.
had the gift cards in different places and different nooks and crannies, but I mean,
Mm.
it was thousands of dollars worth of
Mm.
opportunity to purchase
Mm-hmm.
things that she had gotten, but
Yeah.
she never used the gift cards.
Yeah.
Um, I have found cash, lots and lots of cash.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And so the prosperity is hiding amongst
In
your
plain
clutter.
sight.
So you
So
can,
if you need some motivation, folks, to move forward on your decluttering journey, let that be some motivation for you, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So we've not heard from Henry yet. So I think we'll have to go forward with a certain person's announcement for tonight.
Okay.
Yeah,
Exciting.
it is exciting. And it just popped into my head. And let me tell you why. Over the last week or so, on YouTube, all these tarot readers were reading about the what was going to happen with this debate and all that, and they got it all wrong. And so I was watching all these YouTube videos with these tarot readers, and they got it all wrong.
Oh, yeah. I
And I
was
thought to
too.
myself, you were too?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they got it all wrong. And I'm like, why don't we just go to Spirit? I go to Spirit every week, and I go to Spirit 3 times a day when I do my sessions. Why don't we just go directly to Spirit and ask Spirit what Spirit has to say around this? So I'm starting a new podcast on my Facebook Live and on YouTube only. And it's not a class, it's not a workshop, I'm not charging money for it. It's called Spirit Speaks on current affairs. So the first one I'm going to do is tomorrow at 5 p.m. And I'm going to just ask Spirit, so what's up with this whole thing? And just get Spirit's perspective from the highest perspective possible. And move myself, my biases, fears, concerns out of the way, and just let Spirit speak through me. And I think Spirit will have some very interesting things to say about this.
I am fascinated and I will be tuning in. Absolutely.
Tomorrow live at 5. Tomorrow live at 5 and on my YouTube channel as well.
Very
Ask
good. Very good.
Spirit Speaks on major world events. So that's my new announcement, and we'll just go from there. But I really want to thank you, Shelby, for being with us today and enlightening us and giving us the incentive to declutter by linking decluttering with freeing the energy for our prosperity so we can declutter our way into prosperity. Thank you once again, Shelby Austin. You know how to reach her. We're glad she's here. Everybody, thanks Shelby. And I want to thank our viewers as well. And I want to thank our producer, Michael Mangus. And with that, we're complete here on the Miracle of Prosperity. Good night.